Hi there, Neil McGee with the UVA School of Data Science with a quick little screencast on how to set up SSH key authentication with GitHub. So the challenge is, how do I, when I'm using the command line Git, how do I interact with GitHub and how do I sign in? How do I authenticate my sessions and so on? In the old days, you could do this with the username and password as well, but they've removed that for security reasons. They're also enforcing multi-factor authentication, things like that. So SSH key authentication is actually really, really strong, very reliable. So let's just walk through the basic steps. If you've already installed Git, and I'm going to assume that you have, on Mac you have Git, and you know you have a Git because you can type the Git command and you get a bunch of suggestions for what to do. If you've installed it on Windows, you get a tool called git-bash, which is actually like a little bash shell. And that's what you should use for your Git commands and for this tutorial. So let's see what directory we're in right now, pwd, present working directory. So I'm in my home directory. And what I want to do is make a place to keep these keys, like one universal place. And I'm going to make a hidden folder. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. You could store them on your desktop or in your documents folder or wherever. It's just kind of a best practice to store it in a hidden SSH directory. So we're going to say make dir, and we're going to name it with a dot at the beginning, so it's a hidden directory for SSH keys. So that's great, and we can see that it is right here. However, the permissions are far too generous for SSH, and your system's actually going to freak out if you try to use it that way. So we need to lock that down a little bit. This is a really cryptic command you don't have to do but this one time. You can change the mod of the directory, and we're going to change it to 700. So chmod 700 and applying that to the SSH directory. And now you can see SSH is far more secure. And this means it's a directory, and it means that the owner, who's me, in McGee, can read, write, and execute, but no other users of the system can do anything. And I know nobody shares the system that I'm on right now, but these are the rules for using SSH. So let's clear that and let's cd into the SSH directory. I've changed directories into it, and we can see that there is nothing. Perfect. Now we can go ahead and create our key pair. So that's the first thing, is we've created a home for these keys to live in. And in some positions, I've had jobs before where I had 40, 60, 80 SSH keys for all sorts of different systems and services, which is very normal for certain types of engineering and developers. For the rest of the world, where you're just kind of working on your own stuff, one key pair will do fine. So you have a built-in command, whether you're Mac or Windows using git-bash, you have a built-in command called SSH keygen, SSH-keygen. And this is going to generate a key pair for me. And so I'm going to hit return, and it's going to say generating a public-private key pair. Where would you like me to store it? And the default is the location where I am right now, users/nmcgee/.ssh/idrsa. And this is kind of the default key name that it's going to give you. And so this is great. This is exactly what I want, so I'm just going to hit return. Second option is, would I like to add a passphrase, a password or a passphrase for the key itself? So in really high security situations, not only do you have a key to sign in with, but you have a password to use the key to sign in with. And you have multi-factor, so it's very, very secure. We're going to not use a passphrase, so I'm just going to hit return. I'm going to hit return again. And now it says your keys have been created. Here's their names and so on. Here's the fingerprint for it. It gives me a little ASCII diagram of the key fingerprint. So now when I ls my contents, and I want to see the gory details, I have two keys. And the public key is this one with .pub at the end of it. You can see it's a lot smaller. It's only 575 bytes versus 2.5K for the private key. Notice that the private key does not say like .priv or anything like that. So let's go ahead and look at the private key. And I'm going to blow these away so you can look and copy the characters all you want. So I'm not going to keep these in my account after this demo is recorded. So let's look at the private key. You can see it's really long. This is an open SSH. I think this is 2048 bits. This is base 64 encoded. Very long, very ugly, very secure. If I look at my public key, you'll see It looks like it's a few lines. That's actually just one long line, and it's been wrapped around the sides. And you know a public key because it always starts with SSH-RSA. And then here's the actual contents of the key in the middle. And then it gives me a little unique identifier for me. And so this is my account on my MacBook Pro local here in my office. You could change this if you wanted. You could add it, your email, your regular school email or a Gmail or something like that. But what's important is that we now take this whole thing, and we highlight it and copy it. So I'm going to copy that. Okay, so this is all we need in the command line for the moment. We'll come back here in a second. So let's flip over to GitHub. I've created a demo repository called key demo, and we'll use this in just a second, but I need to add my public key to my GitHub account. And the way I do that is I go way in the upper right to my little icon, and I go down to settings. And over on the left, you'll see SSH and GPG keys. And I already have 3 keys here, but I can add more. I'm not sure of the limit that they have. It might be 5 or 10 or maybe unlimited. Let's add one. And I'll call it demo key. You can name it anything you want. It can have spaces. You could say which computer this is for. You could say, this is my MacBook Pro, delete on this date in 2024 or something like that, as a reminder to maybe rotate your keys. Then it's going to be an authentication key, and then I should just paste my value here. Don't worry about the line break there because it's just wrapping where it can. So let's add that key. Now it wants my authentication code, so let's grab my phone, and this is more security, which is really good. This is multi-factor on any sensitive action that I take. So 900-079, verifying, there we go. So here's my demo key, and there's the fingerprint that we saw earlier. It's never been used before, and it was added on this date. Awesome. Okay, so now we can go back. Let's go back just a few screens to my key demo. And at this point, my command line git should be able to authenticate seamlessly with GitHub. And let's see if that's the case. So I'm going to go ahead and clone this repo. I'm going to use the SSH method now to clone, and I'll copy that. And I have a folder called Sandbox, which is in my development folder. And Sandbox just is a place where I can blow away repos all the time. So let's say git clone and then paste that value. So I'm cloning the repository in GitHub. Git clone and then this long git at address. So I just got a warning. It's saying cloning into this folder, but the authenticity of this address can't be established. And that's because this is the first time this key has ever been used to talk to GitHub. And GitHub's kind of wanting to make sure, it's kind of looking at me and saying, are you sure this is the right legit key? And I could check the fingerprint if I want. You only do this the first time you use the key. And so I'll say yes. You have to type out the full word, yes. Permanently added that. And now I have, let's see, what's it called? Key demo. Now I have my folder here with only a README file, and that makes sense because I have only a README. So I've cloned the repository. Now the last final test is, okay, so I've copied it. Now could I, can I do something with it? Can I actually add and commit and push and so on? So let's add something. Neil here testing this out. We'll save that. I can see my status. Hey, I have a change that's not been staged. Git add readme. Git commit with a message. Adding a change to test the key. They do not like exclamation points in the commit message. So adding a change, great. Now my git status is that I've added everything, I've committed it, and now I am ahead of origin, which is GitHub, by one commit. So I can say git push origin main. I'm using git to push back to origin, which is GitHub, the main branch in GitHub, and I'm pushing my local branch main back to that branch. Fantastic. It went through. Now I should be able to refresh this page and see my changes. And that's it. So that's SSH key authentication for GitHub. You set it up one time and you're good to go. Every 6 months or year or every so often, you should change that key. And the way you can do it is just by deleting the key that was local here or moving it somewhere else, creating a new key pair, deleting the private, the public half up here in your GitHub account and adding the new one in its place. And you'll still be cooking with gas, as they say. Thanks so much.